Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of This Is My Bourbon Podcast. I am your host, Perry, and with me this week, in place of the Birdman himself, is two regular people who you might know from a little YouTube channel called It's Bourbon Night, and it's Chad and Sara. Hi, guys.
Hello.
How was
it
that?
was very hard for me to not laugh at two regular
How was
people.
that for an intro?
I've never felt more disappointing.
Here are two unexceptional,
I just
normal
found
humans.
these two Joe Schmoes on the street and decided to bring them on. But no, you guys are special. You know that.
Thanks, Perry. we're no swan. But
No, we have no plumage.
I heard something else, but I'm going to move on. I know what you said. I know what you said, but yeah,
we'll just leave that
yeah,
one.
it's for the best.
Is it for the
Anyway,
birds?
it is for the birds. Indeed, it is. So this is our second to last episode of the year, which is wild. I'm happy to leave 2020 behind. But like I said, we'll have one more episode coming out next week. But I'm happy to get into this one. If you're a first-time listener to the show and you have not yet subscribed, please do so. New episodes drop every Wednesday. You can also leave us a 5-star rating and review in whatever podcatcher app you are using. Normally, we start the show out with Flying Blind, but because Chad, Sara, and I are not in the same location, we don't have Flying Blind. Excuse me, as my voice cracks. But I had an idea, because this would be our. I have some of those every now and then.
This is a first that I'm hearing about it. So
Yeah.
caught me off guard. I'm like,
We had another bourbon on the table that was higher proof than what we were going to review. Mm-hmm. Why don't we review the lower proof one up top and then get into some of the news?
I like it.
Yeah? Cool.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So, we are going to be reviewing today Bardstown Bourbon Company Fusion Series 3, which you guys drank a little bit on your live stream last night. And you
Feels like a million years ago.
You had very glowing remarks, I would say, about it.
I do like what they do.
Yeah, it's.
I'm a big fan.
We like what you got.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. So I saw this at Liquor Barn probably about a month and a half ago on sale for like $50. I was like,
Yeah.
I'll pick that up. I don't see why not. Kind of wish that it had been the Discovery instead of the Fusion, but
For 50? Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
regardless, Total Wine in Hamburg still has Discovery Series 1 on the shelf.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
no more
nuts.
green label.
I do love that bottle, though.
People were getting it confused with rye, which it's not. So there you go.
Oh, by the way, I'm drinking out of this is my bourbon drinking glass, which can be found at whiskeyambitions.com
That is correct.
and is hand-packed and shipped by none other than Swan himself
With love.
with lots of love.
Or possibly me.
Sometimes you.
Yeah.
Sometimes you.
Almost certainly not me.
If we're in a crunch.
but occasionally.
No, I know that I have personally packed 2
Yeah.
of those glasses.
Awesome.
Or two orders, I should say.
Yeah. So there are a few remaining. Supplies are limited, so get them while you can. Again, whiskeyambitions.com. You'll find it right there, along with all of Chad and Sara's other merch and apparel.
That's correct.
This is just going to be one long ad for where people can find our stuff. What do you guys think about the nose on Fusion Series 3?
I like it.
He likes it.
Sort of like a little green apple. Mm-hmm. Like I remember I was saying that it didn't remember it being as apple before
No.
on the neck pour.
Yeah.
But now that it's kind of opened up, we've maybe drank a 6th.
Yeah. Today I'm actually getting some like toasted pecans too.
I was just about
And
to
the
say
apples.
toasty notes.
Yeah. Yeah. Not quite the level of like sugary sweet. They always do those like pop-up shops at the mall around the holidays where it's like just a bunch of toasted nuts. Yay, everyone loves this, right?
That's actually the
And
name
I'm
of the
always
store.
just
Yeah.
like, This is the name of the store. Yay.
Just a bunch of
everyone loves
toasted
this.
nuts.
Just
This
a
is
bunch
what
of
you
toasted
came to
nuts.
the mall for. No one goes to the mall for that. They just see it and they're like, well, technically you smell it. And then you're like, I
Yeah.
need this.
Yeah.
So not quite that sweet, but that's in there.
It's a kiosk, so it's in the middle of the
Kiosk,
aisle.
that's what it's called.
And so you have to walk by it.
There you are forced to smell. Gosh, I hope people aren't allergic to nuts walking by that. There's probably particles in the air. Danger.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of nuts is the best name
Just a
for any.
bunch of
It's just a bunch of nuts.
Just a bunch of nuts. Yay. Everyone loves it.
It's like if you just named a restaurant Food.
Honestly, that's probably something that we'll see in 2021.
I wouldn't doubt it.
It's minimalist and cool. Like, it's unassuming yet bold
No, it'll just be a single lowercase f.
for food.
Well, they'll have to put a period after it, otherwise Facebook would sue them. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
This is
come eat at F.
This is the content they came for.
absolutely Derek Zoolanders, who he's their spokesperson too.
It's not the content they came for, but it's the content they deserve.
Yes.
And that, my friends, is the truth.
And that's the tooth.
The shark tooth.
Yeah, those are the main things I get.
There's a little bit of honey.
Slightly. I kind of would honestly go a little bit more honeysuckle, I feel like, because it seems a little bit more earthy or greeny. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But I like it. I think this is their best outing with Fusion yet.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I think they
I-
really, really just killed it on this one.
Yeah, like
Which, what I think is great about that, though, is that it's a higher percentage of their distillate versus the previous years. And the fact that, sometimes you don't expect that as the new distillate goes up. The quality, sometimes, I think we can have all been in a scenario where it has gone down.
Yeah.
But I love that they're really doing a good job of balancing their distillate with that 13-year
Yeah.
bourbon that's in here.
yeah, well, I mean, we've had some under 2-year-old Bardstown Bourbon Company distillate and
Delicious.
thought it really shined. It was
Yeah.
just
It's shocking to me how
Impressive.
good they are.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I mean, like, we're enthusiasts, but I'm also just a fan
Oh, absolutely.
in general. Like, I go there and it just makes me happy to be there. I feel like I've never been to Disney World, so I don't know what that feels like, but I feel like, I don't know.
It's close.
Whatever that place is. I like being at Bardstown Bourbon Company.
yeah. Yeah.
So the majority, well, not the majority, the second majority of it is this 13-year Kentucky bourbon. I'm
Yes.
98% sure that that's Barton juice. I'm almost certain that's where that came from.
74-18-8.
Yeah, I think I remember
I think-
seeing online that's the Barton mash bill.
Yeah, the thing about the Sazerac stuff is I don't think they release them technically. So I think it is sort of guessing. Speculation. I mean, I know, Buffalo Trace, they say it's between 12 and 15% rye. They never really say it's this is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So I would assume maybe the same is the same is true of Barton, but can't really recall researching it to know that for sure.
Yeah. But regardless, I think that it seems to balance out really well with that younger distillate that's in there too. And it honestly, if I were doing this blind, I think I would have a hard time picking up on some of the younger qualities of it. I don't think that there's like an overshine of a 3-year-old product in here.
Yeah.
I just think that it's
Yeah.
all very, very well balanced.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's spot on.
And, I think there's also a concern with proofing a 3-year-old or just a young whiskey in general down under 100 proof, because I think that's where you can really get those red flags of, oh, this is young stuff. But, here it is at 98.9. And, yeah, I agree. There's no red flags of this is young.
Sure.
Well,
And I think that is because of the blending, and it's also because they're so good
Yeah.
at their own distillate.
Well,
right.
and-
I mean, if you...
Go ahead,
oh,
Sarah.
go ahead. I was just going to say, like you said, if you gave this to me blind, I think I would probably estimate a 5 or 6 year, which I don't know if that's, I don't know math, so I don't have to make like a box and whisker chart in order to figure out what that comes out to be, like percentage of the 13 year versus the 3. It's an average. I don't do math. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's a good sign.
I mean, there's a possibility too that the proofing aspect of it didn't really affect the younger distillate. They could have had, the younger distillate at say like 120 proof, and then when they put in the 13 year, that could have been 90. You know what I mean? I mean, like they could have already had the proofs kind of figured out before they blended them together, and then I don't know. I mean, like, again, it's speculation, but I mean, there's always the possibility that the older stuff was lower proof and the younger stuff was the higher proof that they put in, and whatever proofing they did thereafter was just to taste. And I doubt that there's too much tinkering that goes on with this particular product in that regard. But
yeah,
who's to say?
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, we could always ask them, about some of their practices.
Yeah.
But
add that to the list of questions. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So let's give this the old review thing system.
The old reviewer son?
Yeah, there we go. Nose, palate, finish, and price is our categories. Each category is out of 5, and then it's a final score out of 20. What would you guys give the nose on Fusion Series 3?
Oh, I haven't gotten there yet.
What would you give it, Perry?
I would give it a solid 3. I think it's really enjoyable. I think that I am missing some of the higher proof notes that I would pick up if, say, this were in the 110 to 120 range. But I think that it's just a really enjoyable nose and one that makes me want to dive into it a little bit and go back to what's in the glass and kind of explore it a little bit more. So 3 for me on the nose.
I'm also going to give it a 3.
You know what? I'll agree with both of you.
3's all around.
I was thinking maybe a 3.25, but then I was like, let's not get into all that. I'll leave that for Chad.
I came close to giving it like a 2.75, and I was like, no, it's slightly better than that. Palate-wise, what were you guys thinking?
I think palate is one of the strongest points of this, and might be the highest. Well, probably, maybe not the highest category in this ranking, but still, I give it a 3.5. I think it's rather good.
I also gave it a 3.5.
There you go.
Hey, look, me too.
Look at us.
Nice. That's good. Finish, I think, might be the weakest point on this. It's not super long. There's not much of a hug to it either. It does kind of introduce like some graham cracker notes as it's fading away, but I don't know. It's there, but I just don't know if it's there in the way that I would like for it to be. I'm going to give it a 2.5.
I mean, I think for a sub 100 proofer, I think it gives the hug that you would expect and the finish that, I mean, I was basing this finish more on just more like the flavor that's left over in your mouth. And it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
So I gave it a 3.25 on the finish.
Well, I'm more in Chad's camp.
Sure.
I think that the older bourbon that's blended in here, in my opinion, is coming through in the finish. I got more like toasted oak notes, a little bit of that graham cracker, like you said. But I thought, like, again, like what Chad said, it was what I expected, and if not just a little bit more for something in this price range at this proof point. So I gave it a 3.5. I was happy with it. To be honest, I like the finish better than the nose. So that's just me, though. What do I know?
mean, I technically did too, because I gave the nose a 3 and the finish a 3.25.
I just wish that the finish were a little bit longer, honestly. And again, I think that's its weakest point. But even still, it's not a bad mark on it. It's just, I guess, the act of drinking it more than I do letting it sit on my on my tongue.
It is an easy sipper.
So it is, absolutely. Price, you're gonna see it around what, like $55 up to maybe $60.
I've seen it for $50.
Yeah, that's what I purchased it at. It was on sale at Liquor Barn for $50. I think it's a great price, especially if you're trying to get people into Bardstown Bourbon Company and what they're doing. Hi, Zoe.
Sorry about that.
Just a warning bark.
She wants to talk too.
Yeah, sure. I think it's a really good price. I think that there are other products that are cheaper that punch a little bit more above their weight class. You know, Turkey 101, of course, is the easy one to go to, but it's I think overall it's a solid price. I'm going to give it a 3.5.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with all those things you said. I think there's a few things that add to its value. One of it just being the transparency on the label.
For sure.
The fact that they give you all three mash bills, their age, their mash bill breakdown, the percentage that's put into it, the fact that it's a 4-grain, not even advertised as a 4-grain, but you look at the mash bills, it's a 4-grain. It has a 13-year in there. And then just the overall enjoyment of it, I gave it a 4. I think it's a pretty strong value for what it is.
I echo those sentiments, Chad. I also gave it a 4. And this is thinking of things like I would probably give Rare Breed a 5 on the value price, scale. I would give Wild Turkey 101 a 5 just because I think you get the maximum payback. There's things to be argued here about that, but I agree with what you said on why a 4 because I also gave it a 4.
Okay.
I think
totals.
I think 4 is a fair price score as well. I just think there are other things that I would probably reach for before I reached for this one. Rare Breed for sure. Granddad 114.
It's hard to beat.
Too. Oh yeah,
sure,
yeah, absolutely
hard to beat. But yeah, those are 3 really good examples of like ones that would score a 5 on the price category.
Yeah, for
sure. So I think this is below that, and as it makes sense, we scored it below.
So total for me was a 13 out of 20.
Mine was a 14.
14 on the dot. Mine was a 13.75.
Yeah. This is a recommend for me. I know that we typically get, like, once it hits 15, it's an immediate recommend. But I think that, anywhere from like upper 12s to 13, that becomes a recommend for me. And yeah, I can understand if you might think, well, I'd rather pick something else up over this. But this is a great one to have in your collection. It's great to bring out for people too and say, this has young distillate in it and you're going to be really surprised by it. So I think that there's a lot of value in this. I think that it shines on the shelf. I love the shape of this bottle, by the way. I think they had just done it and across the board with their products. I just think they look stunning. I really do. So it's a good pickup. Go buy a bottle. Take it to socially distanced Christmas if you're doing that thing. Yeah. All right, so that was our review for the episode. I guess we'll do a little bit of news now if you guys would like to talk about it.
Sure.
Bluegrass Distillers, which is a Lexington-owned company, is actually going to be expanding to Elkwood Farm in Midway, Kentucky. This is a really, I would say, almost overlooked craft distillery here in Central Kentucky. I think they do really good work with what they have. Most of it is young. I think the oldest product they have might be 3 or 4 years old. But in general, I think Bluegrass Distillers is paving the way for craft distillers, at least on the craft trail.
Yeah, we did a review of a bottle that they did in collaboration with, I believe it was Habitat for Humanity.
Yes.
Gosh, I could say a month or two ago, but my sense of time this year is
No, I think that sounds about right.
that sounds about right. And it's funny because they're right here in town, and it's just, I don't know why I don't think of it as often, but when we had that one, I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, it was definitely much better than the last time we explored them, which was honestly years ago.
Yeah.
And I've been there. I've been there before, and I think they've definitely grown, and it's good to see that they're growing more.
Yeah.
I think that will definitely help them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love to watch a good Lexington distillery come up because it's like, this is where we live and it's right in the middle of, bourbon country. And yet I feel like there's really not to discount anyone that is here, but there's just not as much.
Yeah.
But, we have James E. Pepper that's been here for a couple years now. And
All tech.
all tech, that's true.
It is there.
That is a fact.
There. It's there.
Yeah.
It is there.
But, anyway, I'm just excited to see what happens with these guys here in the near future. Speaking of excitement, I mean, this is more in my wheelhouse, of course, than it is your all's, but Goose Island they've kind of sprinkled 3 different Bourbon County Stout Easter eggs, I would call them, throughout their release this year. And they're indicated on the back label as being from one of 3 distilleries. It's either BT, HH, or WT. So Buffalo Trace, Heaven Hill, or Wild Turkey. Everything that's in that particular bottle is from one of those 3 distilleries. I think that's super cool. I wish that we had more stuff like this in bourbon.
Yeah.
It's just there's not much of it, and it does kind of make me want to go full tater and just hunt the heck out of at least one of these bottles. I mean, having had the Anderson Valley Stout that's finished in turkey barrels and loving that as much as I do, it would be great to find one of the Bourbon County Stouts finished in turkey barrels. But it seems like they're pretty regional, like more in Chicago than they are throughout the country. But regardless, it would be so cool to pick up one of these.
It's a little golden ticket-esque. It's a little Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Oh, what if they did that? What if you got a free tour of that distillery?
That would be fun. Missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, there's always next year.
There are probably better luck next year as well.
It's
Also
you
true.
wouldn't- Yeah.
So
True.
this next bit of news is kind of more of a discussion piece, and I wanted to kind of get your all's take on this. So the Bourbon Review was asked, why is there no 4th batch of Bookers this year? And it's something that we all kind of were scratching our heads over too, when we were like, so Pigskin's it? Where's and even then it was delayed forever.
Right.
Oh, and speaking
what happened to the 4th one?
Speaking of Bookers, should we have a little Knob Creek?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I was looking around for the Bookers, and then I was like, we don't have that on our table, but we do have.
Perry, I'm actually surprised that you didn't report on the story that was just below that link for the Goose Island, which is Kit Kat releases a whiskey barrel-aged chocolate bar in Japan.
What?
Come on.
Give it. Give it here.
Yeah, foodandwine.com, which had the Goose Island.
Okay. I'm not a
Story
candy bar person, really,
right
but
below
if
it.
there's a Kit Kat, I'm going to eat it.
I love Kit
I'm going to
Kats.
eat it.
Of course, it's Scotch barrels, but
Still?
I'd still try it.
yeah,
I
definitely.
feel like
Oh my
that could
gosh.
be really good with the chocolate and the wafer.
Did you all know this? There are over 400 Kit Kat flavors in Japan.
There is a lot. I've had the mint.
What?
The mint
We've
chocolate.
had 4. There's white chocolate here, mint. I don't even know. That's it. Dark chocolate. I don't know.
wild.
That's just me guessing.
Well, the mint I had was from Japan.
What?
Yeah.
Crazy. I'm just an OG Kit Kat kind of person.
Have you had the
it
green
simple.
tea one?
No, I don't even know that these things exist, but I also don't eat candy.
Maybe that's what I had, green tea.
It might have been green tea. The mint chocolate, or the mint chocolate one is available here in the U.S. now.
Yeah, I think it was the green tea, actually. Because it was definitely from
When did you have this, and
Japan.
why wasn't it shared with me?
It was on a job, and
okay,
it was at a wheel or a rim manufacturing plant.
Yes, gotcha.
That
I'm connecting the dots.
yeah.
I got you. No, that's cool. If we have any Japanese listeners, we'd love to, try one of those.
We'd love just a box full of all the different Kit Kats, and then we would love to give you a video about what you should pair with each of those Kit Kat flavors.
Oh, killer.
Wouldn't that be
awesome.
fun?
Well, apparently, I mean, if you go on Amazon and you're willing to pay the shipping, you can get all these flavors.
Well, then we should do it. It sounds like fun.
That's the Christmas present you didn't know you wanted, Sarah.
Exactly.
That's the thing I didn't know I wanted, candy. I really didn't know.
So we just poured some of the Knob Creek 12-year cast strength that came out this year. It's one of the limited releases for 2020.
I do like this.
This bottle, I think, is better than all the Bookers that came out this year, personally. And
I don't know. I don't know, Perry. Respectfully disagree. No, go ahead.
It's a contender for me for top 10 this year.
I mean, this one did make it into our blind contention. So in a mere days, we will know where this, if this topped into our top 10 or where it landed.
Yeah.
But,
Where it shook out.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I really like this one, and I find myself, sometimes there's just tasks that you do around the house that are made better by drinking. Like anytime I have to put anything together, like a piece of furniture or whatever, like if I have to build it, I'm not building it unless I have a glass of bourbon with me, because
Amen.
I'm like, why? What's the point? If I have to do manual labor, I'm going to enjoy it.
I do that with just about any task around the house. It's like, you got to do the dishes, I'm going to have a glass of bourbon. I got to clean up my studio, I'm going to have a glass of bourbon. Like,
Sure. If I'm cleaning my room, I'm having wine. But if I'm painting or like building something, I'm having bourbon. I don't know why. But this is one that I find myself reaching for whenever I'm doing something like that. I'm always like, I'm going to go get that Knob Creek. It is very good.
I've already bought a second bottle of it. And I'll probably buy a third. So.
I think we were gifted some.
Yeah.
I can never remember.
No,
Chad
that was the 100 proof.
That was a different one. Okay.
Yeah.
I can never remember. I'm real bad.
No, we bought this
I'm
one.
real bad.
There you go. So, Bookers, why was there no fourth release this year?
Chad has the inside scoop.
Well, I mean, and then here Bourbon Review goes and they ask Fred Noe himself.
Yeah.
My information.
We thought we had the inside scoop.
Well, it probably came out before this article did, so
Sure.
For a little while we did. But yeah, when we did our uncorking of pigskin batch, we included some info in there, and it wasn't from Fred Noe himself, but it was from a brand ambassador at Beam, and we were told that the quality of the batch didn't meet their standards, ergo don't release something that they don't like and just leave it with 3 releases for 2020.
Which, I personally like that story because it makes me feel good about their quality control, and if they're going to ask us to pay this, premium level price for this product, that they're not going to put out anything that they don't believe in. So that story makes me feel all warm and fuzzy, although there was a critical side of my brain that was like, I have a hard time believing that y'all don't have more barrels that could qualify for Bookers that just hanging out somewhere.
Well, that looks like that's in the article here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to touch on a couple of things here before we dive in too much to the actual article and have that conversation. The first one was that the rumor that was going around before Pigskin started hitting shelves was that it wasn't good enough and Jim Beam was recalling it. Like they had gone through the whole process of actually producing it, and then somebody after it got shipped out said, no, bring it back. We can't give this to people. Do you think that got like that was a conflated story between that and...
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't seem real to me.
No.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it did... But, like, as soon as we said, and I think we said it on the show, too, Swan and I, that there was that rumor going around, it was like the next day, or like the day after that episode came out, it was popping up at Total Wine. I was like, well, daggone it. So...
Yeah.
But
yeah, it just feels like that's like a huge mistake. And there's so many checkpoints involved of like who has to sign off on these things and the labels getting made and then putting them on the bottles. The bottles get filled, packaged, shipped, blah, blah, blah. All this stuff. I just have a hard time believing that all of that happened. And then someone was like, wait, this isn't right.
Yeah.
Because I feel like someone who could actually have the clout to make that call would have had to have signed off several steps before. It just doesn't make sense.
Absolutely. The other thing too that I want to talk about is this the beginning of this quote from Fred No. He said, "When I took over as master distiller, Dad made me to promise to never touch his Booker's bourbon, and I can honestly say that I haven't." I feel like this is both good and potentially slightly negative for Booker's. And I'll say the negative side of it first. And it's purely from a capitalist standpoint. Booker's is a big moneymaker for them, right? I mean, it's being released quarterly at a semi-premium price, and you know, it could be strange and potentially hurt the brand, hurt their income. Income's not the right word there, but you know what I'm saying. If they do get so nitpicky every single year. And like, there have been bad batches of Booker's. There have been ones that we haven't been as big a fan of. 2019 was just kind of full of duds, right? I mean, nothing really screamed at us.
Well,
I'll agree with that. I mean, I picked a favorite, but
I wouldn't say full of duds.
I wouldn't call
I would
them
say
duds. But
2019 didn't have as exceptional options as 2018 did. Let's say.
I will say that I was disappointed that there was not one that I was wild about, because I feel like in previous years, I had always been able to find one that I was like, yes, this is the one. Mm-hmm. Last year, I picked a favorite, but I never reached for it, you know?
Yeah.
So
I think that's what I'm getting at, too, is that there wasn't just kind of this overwhelming, like, oh, you got to pick up, you know, Granny's batch, or you got to grab what I can't even remember what the batches from last year were, but
we had
Backyard Barbecue,
biscuit. No, isn't
Beaten
that
Biscuits.
was
Beaten Biscuits was a good
last
batch.
year or 18? Beaten Biscuits, Country Ham. I can never remember
Kathleen's
what
batch.
the two, or was it Teresa's?
Teresa's batch.
Teresa's batch. I can never remember what the second release of the year is called, ever in any year. I can't remember, but yeah.
So my point is that, like, I could see it being potentially detrimental to the amount of money they could make, but I mean, that's kind of me being nitpicky about it and playing a little bit of devil's advocate. But at the same time, I think it's overwhelmingly positive to hear Fred No say something like, "Yeah, I'm sticking true to what my dad told me to do." You know, like, I'm carrying on the legacy, and that's. I think that in the sea that is so many bourbon releases, it is nice to see a light patch every now and then of people who are staying true to what the distillery, the company was founded on, much in the way that Fred No is doing. And I'm sure Freddie No is going to do the same thing when he takes over, whenever that may be. But also the Samuels family and the Shapiros, who still own Heaven Hill as well. I mean, it made me kind of breathe a sigh of relief when I read that he was like, "Nah, it's just because we weren't ready for it yet." But I think, Sarah, you brought up a good point, though. Like, how do they not have barrels that weren't up to snuff.
Well, and yeah, I mean, I don't work there, so I can't say. I guess I just like,
True.
yeah, I find it hard to wrap my mind around that. But then part of me also wonders, do they earmark certain barrels every year? Like, you know, they're prepared for 4 releases a year, and they've got barrels in warehouses that are earmarked for this purpose. And if one of them doesn't pan out, like, maybe that was their plan. Now their plan's messed up. Like, I don't know. Maybe that product that is sitting around is reserved for something else. Like,
Sure.
it's hard to say because I don't work there. But, like, again, the critical side of me is like, well, you don't have any other bourbon? You can't sell me?
Yeah, absolutely.
I find it hard to believe that you're going to let that, let's say on average, a $90 bottle of bourbon that everybody wants. You're just going to be like, nah, we don't want that money. We'll be skipping out. So it's like they had to have made the decision for a good reason. But what is the reason? And do I buy it?
What do you think, Chad?
I mean, I can see. Yeah, I mean, yes, they have tons and tons and tons of barrels. Jim Beam is the biggest bourbon retailer in the world, but they also have a lot of labels, and of their entire stock, only a certain percentage are going to be 6 to 8 years, which is what they choose for Bookers. So take that down to that number. And then of that number, only certain ones are going to be where they like to pull them from, the center cut of the warehouse or there's about. So that takes that number down even more. And then they have to come out with usually 4 batches a year. And they had already probably, had certain amounts allocated for batch 1 and batch 2. And then, I wonder if it was batch 3 that had the problem or batch 4 and 4 became 3, So if it was either 3 or 4, that's towards the end of their calendar year of production of allocated barrels for this expression. So when you think about it that way, yeah, I mean, yes, they have other barrels, but like here we are sipping on this Knob Creek 12-year cast strength, which is 120.5, which is pretty close to a Booker's proof. But I can tell you that as delicious as this is, it's not a Booker's profile.
Mm-hmm. And they don't need to put a 12-year in a Booker's bottle.
Yeah, they wouldn't be doing that anyway. So I feel like, and there's different, from an info sheet that I've seen, there's different barrel entry proofs for different expressions. So
that's what I was scrambling
down
to find while you were talking.
Yeah,
too.
I think I have a screenshot on my phone, but
yeah, I had to.
So you guys have looked into this. This is what you all lay awake at night and think about, because I'm thinking about everything I did wrong during the day. The person that I waved at, who I thought was waving at me but didn't wave back.
Right.
So it comes from Bourboner. And I think I just searched like Bourboner Jim Beam, BOURBONR. And so it breaks down each of the mash bills and the barrel entry proofs, as well as the off still proof. So
now the mash bill, I wouldn't, no disrespect to Bourboner, but I wouldn't put a lot of stock in because they don't release their mash bill.
I'm just trying to see if there's anything that confirms whether or not these mash bills are indeed correct. But regardless, what it's stating is that products like Booker's, Baker's, and Knob Creek, as well as Jim Beam White Label, all maintain the same mash bill, which Bourboner is saying is 75 corn, 13 rye, 12 malted barley. But where it starts to differ is what it comes off the still at. Everything goes into the barrel except for Basil Hayden. And we'll get to that in a second, but everything goes into the barrel at 125 proof. But Booker's, Baker's, those are the only two, come off the still at 125. Knob Creek comes off at 130, and Jim Beam White comes off at 135. So what I'm getting at here, I guess, is just kind of challenging that, like, if they're being that specific with what the proof is with it coming off the still, surely the barrels that are set aside for Bookers, for Bakers, and for Jim Beam White Label are reserved specifically for that. You know what I mean? Like, I do understand that maybe, there is that potential for some of those Booker's barrels to maybe have gone into the Knob Creek cast strength or vice versa. But if they're going to be that specific about it, why do the opposite of what they set out to do?
Right. And, the whole, the only thing, the reason why I always remember that Jim Beam doesn't publicly release their mash bills is because of being at, a couple of Bourbon and Beyond panels where Fred Minnick is pumping Fred No for information, trying to get him to spill the beans about what their mash bill is, and he's saying, "Nope, I ain't going to do that, Fred."
He's saying, "Get out of here, Fred."
Yeah, so that's just been drilled into my mind that
we love you, Fred.
That we're always trying to figure out what the Jim Beam mash bill is, but it's not released. So I think it's just speculation. And to kind of take it back to Bardstown Bourbon Company. Discovery Series number 4 has a mash bill on there where it has 0.5 and a 0.5. I think it was the rye and the malted barley. It was this mash bill that I'd never seen before, and I feel like that is Jim Beam's mash bill.
Intriguing. Some detective. Well, let's look at it. Sherlock Holmes and Watson over here.
Because
who am I?
I could, and of course I'm tasting 3 different Kentucky distilleries blended into one, but I just feel like I was tasting some Jim Beam in there. I mean, that could be, but I don't know. That's my theory, that we now have seen what the actual Jim Beam mash bill is, but and it's not that one that most people. Because, when you Google it, and there's that big table of all the distilleries, and some have question marks, and some are filled in, and Jim Beam is filled in with that mash bill that you just said. Yeah. I think that's really close to it, but I don't think that's it.
It's like trying to figure out who Banksy is. Like,
right.
Like we'll never quite figure it out. Maybe until, he's dead, but regardless.
Yeah.
They also kind of laid out scenarios, Bourbon Review did, for what could have happened had everything gone maybe the way that Fred had planned it, or if he had his wits about him. So 4 different scenarios. 1, he could deliver 4 batches in 2020 and skip one in 2021. 2, he could deliver 3 batches in 2020 and resume 4 batches for 2021. He could make 3. He could make several significantly smaller batches, shrinking the production of Booker's for 2020. Or 4, he could bottle something that wasn't tasting right. So they go on to say that 4 likely is not an option that he would even consider.
Right.
Well, I feel like
agree with that wholeheartedly.
No matter which way you slice it, you're going to piss people off. Any one of those 4 options, you're going to cut somebody short this year. You're going to cut somebody short next year. Mm-hmm. You're going to make all of the releases smaller, which means they're going to be harder to get. Or you're going to make one of them bad, which is going to make people mad. So I think, obviously, like you said, that last option is non-negotiable. Yeah. We're not doing that. Okay. And if you're going to make them all smaller, Booker's is already getting a lot of heat for being more expensive. Now they're going to... People just love to hate Jim Beam. Let's not give them another reason for an entire year. Because like Chad pointed out, we can't go back and alter what happened with 1 and 2 of this year. No. So we're saying for the next 3 to 4 batches, we're going to have a smaller yield. That's going to piss people off for a longer time than just skipping this one in 2020 that's already a terrible year, closing the book on that, and just moving on in 2021.
Devil's advocate, though, Sarah.
Oh, we love this game.
That might actually help their clout, because when things become more allocated, people stop complaining about paying big prices, and they're like, I can't find it. I finally found one. Oh, it's $100. Oh, I'm going to pay it.
I think, I hear what you're saying, and I think that is true in every other case except for Jim Beam, because you know what people are going to say? They're going to say, screw this. I'm just going to go buy Knob Creek.
Yeah,
it's just as good, and it's cheaper.
Creek pick.
I'm just going to go get a Knob Creek pick.
15 years old, and
they're going to say,
That's true. That's true.
Right? Not anymore. But I think people still have this mindset of like, why? Well, if Booker's is going to be harder to find, I'll just get Knob Creek. No big deal. So
Yeah.
I feel like they want to keep it as short and as contained as possible. So that only leaves options 1 and 2. Why disappoint people next year when you can just rip the Band-Aid off and get it over with now?
Well,
Yeah, I'm glad that they went with the option that they went with.
I feel like there might be a potential 5th option, though.
Ooh, the elusive 5th option. It's E, all of the above.
No, well,
I'm
what,
kidding.
what if they released 5 batches in 2021?
Well, that would still have to shrink the supply to where they would be harder to find.
Sure. And then that doesn't alleviate people's frustration with there only being 3 in this year. So it's like they put more on themselves, but they don't actually help themselves right now.
It might also confuse.
Because they've been strictly setting this. We went from 6, now we're at 4. It will be 4 from now on.
It might kind of confuse some
They're
people.
like training the consumer.
But it wasn't that long ago that Jim Beam was putting out 6 batches of Bookers per year.
Yes.
He ain't wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I pulled up the email from our Deep Throat source. Now, I'm sure he's fine with me citing him as a source.
Just
but
to be careful.
I didn't specifically ask that, so I always take the safe approach and just not say.
Sure, and especially with there being so many different takes on what's going on here, I wouldn't want him to get, you know.
So anyway, because I was asking about 1, the price increase, 2, what happened with the 4 batches in 2020 and so on and so forth, and is it becoming more scarce? And just since it's here, I'll just say this real quick about the price increase. He said,
Please.
We did take a small price increase a few years ago or so, and it was the first time we'd done that since 1992.
Wow.
So we never raised the price on Bookers for over 20 years. And then back in 2017, they raised it, and they haven't raised it since then.
all hell broke
so
loose.
if you are seeing it increase in price, it's not from the distillery. It's either from the distributor or your retailer, your store, raising the price, but not Jim Beam. They're not making any more money off of it right now. He says, as far as scarcity goes, that's not going away anytime soon, unfortunately. Luckily/unluckily for us, Booker's has seen a surge in popularity the last handful of years, and we can only make 4 highly allocated releases a year, as opposed to 5 years ago when we could do 6 to 8 releases, no problem. Not a bad problem to have for folks like us, but it's a bummer to know that getting each barrel is more and more of a challenge. Each batch is more and more of a challenge. So, there you go.
There we have that. So
Can't argue when it comes
well,
from the horse's
obviously
mouth.
the rise in the rise in popularity is obviously due to the 3 of us. I mean,
Yes.
clearly
We're to blame. Yeah.
We're the source. Yes.
That's why that's why we can't find Henry McKenna anymore.
Ugh, that is 100% my fault, specifically.
I think it's that Fred guy, right?
And people have already
Fred
started
who?
shaming me for the future. Oh, yeah, that Fred guy.
That Fred guy.
Yes, people have already started shaming us for the future unavailability of Evan Williams Bottled and Bond.
Well, Fred's already
true.
being blamed for the future unavailability of Rare Breed as well. So
Right. Yeah.
I can still find it
And I
everywhere.
think
Everywhere.
I think if ever William Heaven Hill starts to really get some notice, it'll be from us too.
I am like, why is no one noticing this? But also good. Keep your hands off of it. It's
Right.
mine.
Yeah. It's ours.
I takes it.
It's our precious.
I know that
Yeah.
I know that took up a bulk of the episode, but I felt like it was important for us to talk about because it's something that I have been fascinated with, just seeing not only the production side of it, but also, how people are responding to it here in this community and seeing whether or not people are on board with it. And I think overwhelmingly it seems like, people are okay with the fact that there's not a, mediocre batch of Bookers that came out. I mean, if you're going to spend that money, you want it to be quality. So,
Right.
I mean, I give
I think, yeah.
all credit where credit's due to Fred No for making that call. And
Yeah.
it was probably a tough choice to have to make. But I will say, I hope that it doesn't become the norm in the future. I do hope that they return to 4 batches next year and thereafter.
Yeah, that's what we've been told is the plan, is to go back to 4 next year. So this is just hopefully just a little blip in the.
I mean, it had to be a pretty big, I don't know, mistake, disappointment. I don't really know how to frame that. But you know what I'm saying? Because again, at what average $85, $90 a bottle, you to just say, nah, let's not cash in on that. It must have been, for some reason, just like way outside the norm.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't the card that Booker's came with used to have like the breakdown of everything that went into the batch?
Yeah.
So when did they stop doing that?
It must have been this year. I think I still remember seeing that on 2020-01.
Oh, I don't remember.
Because I remember us doing an uncorking, and you started reading like 28% came from warehouse C on the 4th floor, and then you're like, oh, this is way too much information. And then you stopped reading it. I mean, that was recent. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I started reading it on an episode. I was like, this is going to take 10 minutes.
Yeah. But no, they would get into the minutia of from this warehouse, this floor, this, percentage of it went into the mix. And
I made myself bored.
yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I put myself to sleep.
It's like one of those things you read on your own time if you have the time, but like I'm not going to spend the time reading it to you.
Sure. So
I'll have to go back and look, because now I'm curious about that.
Because I was looking it up for Boston Batch, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And I was like, did I just totally misremember this? Was it only for the limited releases that came out, like the 25th and the 30th, that they...
No.
I knew it. I knew I wasn't going crazy.
You're not crazy.
I mean, not for that reason. But
Perry, I've never seen this before. What are you even talking about?
What's Booker's? What do you mean?
You've been talking to yourself this whole time. We're actually figments of your imagination.
Hey, if this turns out to be a simulation and there's a big glitch in it, then,
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about a couple of releases as well before we wrap it up with some TTB labels and then tips and bits. The newest batch of Stag Junior has been announced at... Oof, I cannot do that math. Chad, can you do that math?
131.1
Hey,
proof.
there we go. 8 years old, $50 a bottle. It's supposed to be limited, but, if you see Stag Junior, just buy it, I feel like.
What from Buffalo Trace isn't limited these days? I don't understand.
We were talking with Swan recently about how bourbon cream from Buffalo Trace is allocated right now, which is insane. That shouldn't be. I loved Batch 14. I thought it was phenomenal. So if I see
delicious.
Batch 15, I'm definitely going to pick it up.
Oh yeah.
Smooth Ambler also has an Old Scout port cask finished rye at 103 proof.
Could be. I'm not looking at that part right now.
Enough.
Oh wait, here it is.
6.
Yeah, 51.5% ABV. Yeah, 102.
Oh, 102?
10.
No, that'd be 103.
103. Yeah. 103. You are correct.
Distillery only, though, $60 a bottle this month. The last port cask finished rye I had from Smooth Ambler, I gave away to Iverson because I didn't like it. He was like...
yeah. Go ahead. Tell your Iverson story.
No.
Actually, his opinion matters more than mine, to be honest.
He just, I had him try it, and he was like, this is one of the best rides I've ever had. And I was like, this is your bottle now.
This art belonged to you.
Yeah, so I hope that this one's better, but regardless, past expressions have not been my favorite thing.
I've just never been a Smooth Ambler person. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Me neither. I don't even know. Whatever happened to my Yippee-Ki-Yay bottle? Maybe I gave that to Iverson, too.
I don't know.
I think I might have.
That's actually, I do like
haven't seen it.
I do like Yippee-Ki-Yay.
Yippee-Ki-Yay is all right.
It's okay.
Okay. Well, there we have that. I like High West. You don't. No. Apparently, I don't think any one of the three of us is a big Smooth Ambler fan,
not
so.
particularly. No.
There's something out there for everybody.
So TTB labels from Skew's Recent Eats over on Twitter. Willet has an 8-year-old product that's coming out, apparently, that is a wheated bourbon, and it's their own distillate. I
Can't believe it's been 8 years.
Whoa.
Yeah, that didn't seem right, does it?
No.
This I will try. I'm usually not a Willet person, but I feel like sometimes their Mash bill gives me very severe licorice, and I just can't handle
Well,
it.
that's probably been their source stuff, though.
No, it tasted different before. Like 3 or 4 years ago when we first started the channel, I was in love with Noah's Mill. I really was cool with other older Willet stuff. And then, I liked Rowan's Creek and Pure Kentucky XO, all that stuff, Kentucky Vintage. And as of the past 2 years, I can't drink it. It's too much licorice for me.
Do you think they're putting their own distillate in there?
I do think they were. But honestly, if this is a weeded mash bill at 8 years, I'm actually intrigued. Because I think it may have been some rye notes. I don't know for a fact. This is, again, just guessing.
Yeah.
I'm hypothesizing. But yeah. Anyways, you may continue.
So the next three all kind of get lumped together. But I'm really intrigued by these. They're all from Kirkland Signature, which is the Costco brand, and they're all three products distilled at Barton 1792.
Yeah, so,
this is so strange to me.
Yeah. Why not just buy 1792?
I don't know. Well, I guess,
True.
I don't know, maybe the intention is to make it more available? But even then, it's just for Costco. I don't know. I'm truly just postulating here. But so one's bottled in bond. One is not loading on my computer, and neither is that one.
Single barrel.
So that's good. Yeah, there's a single barrel and a cask strength, right?
I haven't looked at the third one yet. The third one is...
Oh, small batch. Sorry.
I clicked on the single barrel again. Yeah, small batch.
Yeah. It's interesting that they're putting out basically a barrel-proof single barrel. If that's the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a liter bottle. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll
Intriguing.
try it. I'll drink it.
I mean, yeah, I'll drink it. Don't get me wrong, but I'm confused by it. I'm scratching my head.
Well, 120 proof, so, I mean, I'm sure they add a little bit of water.
Sure, but I mean, cask strength adjacent, I would say.
Cask strength adjacent, yeah. Yeah.
Close enough.
But I agree with you, Chad. Why not just buy Barton products? Why not just buy 1792?
Because they're taking stock away from what will become regular old 1792. So you could say to make it more available, but it's also taking their stock away.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
It's the
I don't
Sazerac
know.
effect, I feel like.
Yeah. And since it's Kirkland, are they going to sell it for much less than 1792 products?
Because then I will definitely buy this.
Well, there's got to be a trade-off there. I mean, they can't
What's the catch?
cannibalize.
Right.
1792 wouldn't cannibalize their own stuff.
It's the Walmart effect. It's 100%.
Yeah,
maybe
maybe the Costco shopper isn't purchasing 1792, but they will buy this. Like, better to get some money? I don't know.
Weird.
Very
speculation
strange.
running rampant.
In the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Feels like. This episode should come with a speculation disclaimer.
This is the episode where we just theorize everything. But no.
We literally just talk about all the possibilities.
Yeah. So that's all the news for the week. We did our review up top, of course. I did just realize that we haven't done what have we been drinking recently?
Oh.
Yeah. The thing we normally do at the top of the episode.
Chad knows what I...
Without flying blind,
Chad
it
can-
kind of throws me off.
It throws you off,
Yeah,
man.
it did. So what have you guys been drinking recently?
Sarah has been drinking the Angel's Envy rye, the rum finished rye.
I have been drinking
And
that.
she smells like maple syrup.
You guys were talking
is,
about that
I
on your
think,
live last night, and I was
delightful.
laughing so hard.
Yeah, I literally walked downstairs. He just looks up at me and goes, "Maple syrup?" Question mark. Like he was mad that I ate waffles without him. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's been. I started drinking it when we were putting up the Christmas tree because it just felt right, and I've been drinking it, which is strange because before this year I didn't like it,
Oh, wow.
and this is why you should always revisit things.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I literally had to text Akeem which I don't know if you know Akeem Perry, but he works at OBC.
At OBC,
too.
yeah, I know Akeem.
So like with the first time I tried Angel's Envy Rye, I was there with Iverson and Akeem, and they were like, "You got to try this." And I was like, "Well, I don't like Angel's Envy very much." They were like, "No, but this is different." I tried it, and I said, "No, that just tastes like spicy chocolate. Like, why would I want to drink that?" They were like, "What? Are you insane? This is delicious." I was like, "No, you're wrong." I literally sent him a picture of the bottle earlier this week, and I said, "You were right. I'm an idiot."
You're wrong, Colonel
I
Sanders.
said, "I've finally been converted," and he was like, "Thank you."
I mean, it is, besides the cast strength stuff, it is my favorite Angel's Envy, but it is a little bit too maple syrupy for me.
I like it for this time of year.
This time of year, sure.
I don't disagree.
What you been drinking, Chad?
What have I been drinking? I've been drinking the 25 most notable American whiskeys of 2020.
I have also been drinking those. And then we also had
Yeah.
to do sipping for another episode that's filmed that hasn't come out yet.
Ah, yes.
TBD on if and when that one will come out.
Yeah.
It may have been a little holiday selection of
Well,
pours.
I'll tell you what, last night, besides live, I had some rare breed and I had some Blanton straight from the barrel.
Nice.
Ooh, fancy pants.
Yeah.
You got to try that bullet pick from Justin's as well.
Mm-hmm.
Was that last week?
Yeah. That was last week, yeah.
These weeks are
Yeah,
just
I
running
feel you on
together.
that. When am I?
Let's see. I got to try all of the new releases from Barton. Speaking of Barton, the Thomas S. Moore.
Jealous. You mean the Sean Thomas Moore?
Sean Thomas Moore. Yes.
The Swan
My
Thomas
brain
More.
reads it that way
Oh,
every time I
me
see
too.
that bottle.
Me too.
That's all I see.
Well, when I saw it, I texted him and said, I didn't know Thomas was your first name, and you just decide to go by Swan, your middle name. It's Thomas Swan Moore.
So I got to try those on my live stream last week, youtube.com/This Is My Bourbon Podcast. My baby's freaking out over something. I don't know what's happening.
No, I'm fine.
Aw.
Chad.
Aw.
Ew.
But
My baby.
but I also, jeez Louise, I also got sent from my buddy Alan, who is the distiller over at Spirits of French Lick, two of their bottled and bond products. One's 4 grain and the other one is a high rye bourbon. And that high rye bourbon is killer. It's
Yes.
stupid good.
I have a feeling that they're going to be like next year, like people are going to be talking about them a lot.
Yeah, we got a bottle from Bourbon on the Banks.
We did get one from Bourbon on the Banks, and
Yeah.
it's good. Yeah, I think they're going to be. Let's just like lock in predictions of 2021 trends. You know, I feel like it's like fashion trends, like like you know, a short bob's going to be back. Like I think that's going to be one of the things that people are all. And obviously, Smoke Wagon is just going to continue
Oh,
to be
Smoke
more
Wagon's
talked
going to
about.
blow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we kind of saw that with 4-Gate this year, too.
Funny that you say that. I can't reveal the rest of that sentence at this point in time. Chad rolled his eyes at me. He hates me.
So I don't know how to respond to that, but
I've been liking it a lot.
I'll say something too that I had teased on your all's live this week. You had a viewer who was asking what should my first pour be after she was 23 weeks pregnant and like after my baby's born. So we found out that Lucy was pregnant February 15th. So the day after Valentine's Day. And I got her a bottle of rosé. She loves sparkling rosé. And I got her a bottle of that. And we were like, oh, we'll open it this weekend. We didn't open it that night. We didn't open it on Valentine's Day, but the 15th, she was like, she told me she was pregnant and everything. And we were like, well, we'll save it until after you've had the baby. So we came home. Eden was born early on Thursday morning. We came home on Saturday. And I have a picture on my phone of Lucy sitting up in the nursery, feeding and rocking Eden, and drinking a very tall glass of rosé from that bottle that I got for her on on Valentine's Day.
Like, I've been waiting
She's
9
been
months for
counting
this.
down. She has a countdown app on her phone till she can drink the rosé.
So that
I love
was
that.
that story. But anyway,
Nice.
it was a cute little
Nice.
thing. Yeah. So
That is sweet.
So what about tips and bits? Do you guys have any recommendations for people this week?
You know what's so funny is the past umpteen months when you told me that we both haven't been on here since February. Like,
I couldn't believe
I
that it's
know.
been that long.
It's ridiculous.
I've been on, right? I've been on since then.
No,
No, I don't
I have an
think so.
unreleased Patreon bonus episode that you were on. But like the main feed, this is the first time since February that you guys have been
Like,
on.
I would have sworn that we had done this like 3 months ago. I can't.
I would have said 6, but
Again, no concept
Right.
of time this year.
I'll go back and look, but
but
I'm
no,
pretty sure this
we'll-
is only your second
No,
appearance,
you're right.
honestly.
No, you're right.
But, throughout time, we would come upon something, and I'd be like, if we were doing Perry's podcast right now, this would be one of my
Tips and bits.
tips and or bits. But, and now they're all gone.
Surely we've talked about the Scrubs podcast on here.
Probably.
No,
I don't think-
probably
I
not.
don't think
'cause
you
it didn't
have.
start until March.
Fake Doctors, Real Friends.
Obsessed.
Yeah.
Love it.
Queen's Gambit
Absolutely.
on Netflix. If
Yeah.
you guys haven't seen
That's
it,
a-
that's a tip and bit. There's like 100 other things, but
Like a billion.
I know.
yeah.
I don't even know.
Oh, Ted Lasso.
Still not
Love
watched it.
Ted Lasso.
Still not watched it.
Oh my gosh. It brought me so much joy. Like, I think that the writing in that show is what everyone needs this year.
Yeah.
It's just so...
It's a lot of positivity.
It's a lot of positivity. And that's, I think, the thing that I've been gravitating towards this year are shows that just exude positivity. Because it's like, in every other year, I will watch like really dark, serial killer shows and stuff. I really haven't done that this year because I don't think I can handle it.
Well, now you know how I feel in a normal year. I'm like, this is too much
Yeah.
gloom and doom.
I just need stuff
Let
that
me
makes
turn
me
on a
happy.
cartoon.
I did get into horror movies this year, though.
Now, I will say I did get way into horror movies, but I
Yeah.
think that they're so far-fetched that I'm like, life is rough, but
Oh,
it
yeah,
ain't this
absolutely.
rough. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
what was like your favorite horror movie that you watched?
Ooh. Don't judge me because I
Judgment-free zone. here.
I spent a lot of time I spend a lot of time catching up on movies that people have said and TV shows too that have said forever, you got to watch it, it's a classic, or just kind of in the zeitgeist and everything. But man, I watched Alien for the first time.
Yes, I'm not even going to judge you. I'm just so happy that
It
you
was-
watched it.
It's one of the best movies I've ever seen. I mean,
It's
just
so
hands
good.
down.
We watched that not too long ago.
We did watch it. We watched it like right before Halloween. I love watching the behind the scenes of that movie and seeing like how they made the ship that they were all on and how it was
Ooh.
really crappy materials. But it's because of the lighting and the effects that they use. Like it looks
I mean, it was
really,
low budget, yeah.
it looks really good. But it was a low budget film.
I'll say what kind of kicked off my excitement for horror movies too this year was Brightburn, which
Yeah.
James Gunn produced. It's basically like if Superman came to Earth, but he was evil.
Right.
Ooh, I haven't seen this.
It's not groundbreaking, I would say. Like the concept has kind of been existing in the ether for a while, but it's good. It's solid. I had fun with it. I had a good time.
Yeah.
But I would very much like to see, if they ever did a sequel to it, what that would look like. Because it's kind of teased in the credits that there might be, more people in the world like the main character, and I would just be fascinated to see them build like an evil Justice League.
Well, are you watching The Boys?
I have not watched The Boys yet.
Okay. Well, that might quench that
Okay.
thirst then.
Well, I'll watch The Boys then.
I have not watched this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been told that people are like, "Oh, it's really good, but you won't like it." I'm like, "What does that mean?"
No, I think you would like it, actually.
No, I've heard from other people like, "Oh, it's really good, but you won't like it," and I'm like,
It's on my list.
"Okay."
Nah.
It's on my list, and I
does it
really
mean?
want to. I really want to watch The Boys. I'll. So speaking of horror movies, though, I did find my new favorite Christmas movie ever.
Oh, I can't wait.
It's on Sci-Fi. It's called Letters to Satan Claus.
Oh my goodness. I feel like I need to watch
It's based.
this.
Wait, wasn't that in a super chat yesterday?
I
last
was
night?
like, he must be misspelling this. I don't understand.
Because I think it said Satan Claus.
Yeah, it must have been real, and we were just like, what is this guy talking about? He was probably...
It's poised like a Lifetime movie.
Okay, I already
But
like it.
it just goes bananas. I mean, like, this little girl. So the premise of it is this little girl writes a letter. She thinks she has spelled Santa right, but she misspells it and writes Satan.
And this is the reason.
And that's the jumping off point from the movie. And it's great. It is so cheesy and low budget, but just one of the best things I've ever watched. I couldn't turn away from it.
I can tell that you're enjoying it.
It's like, and I've also discovered this year my I wouldn't say love, but kind of appreciation for the safe space that is like Lifetime and Hallmark movies at Christmas time.
Where nothing bad can really ever happen.
Exactly. But this movie just takes everything that they do and just
Okay, well, I'm
flips
putting it on my list right now.
Yeah.
It's on Hulu.
I need to watch
It's
this
on
now.
Hulu.
Okay.
So-
And okay, I want to know, is this movie with gosh, what's his name as Colonel Sanders? It's like a Lifetime movie
Oh my
brought to you
gosh.
by KFC. Is it real?
It is real.
Oh, I love that. I
A
wanna watch
Recipe
that
for
too.
Seduction is what that movie is
A
called.
Recipe for Seduction.
It's 15 minutes long, and it's some of the best television I've ever seen. It is
Wow.
gloriously bizarre. Lucy and I got so excited for it that we ordered KFC to
Oh my
eat
God.
while we watched.
And it worked. And the marketing worked. Do you see?
Yeah.
It's full circle. This is why they did it. I want to see the metric of how many people ordered KFC the week that came out is what I want to see.
The Venn diagram of KFC eaters and people who watch Lifetime. And like meet in the
Yes.
middle. It's a Recipe for Seduction.
KFC is like perfect. Now we know how to get to all of you. No, I'm like way, way, way late to the party and also too old. But I'm on TikTok. Like I'm not creating on TikTok. I've thought about it. But like enjoying the videos and stuff. And you just gave me an idea for if we fixed one thing in this movie, it would be over in 10 minutes. And it's like if we just erased if we just moved the N on that little girl's letter, it would be the movie's over. Roll credits.
Oh, sweetie, you misspelled that. Let me
Let me fix
for
that
you.
for you.
Exactly.
And credits. And then we can just play the end music. Like there's so many movies where if you just fixed one mistake in the beginning, the whole it would not set off the domino, chain of events.
Yeah.
I would
I
like
saw
to do
that
that
same
series.
thing with a Star Wars meme this week where they're standing looking at the Death Star being built. And Darth Vader goes, "Hey, we should totally blow Tatooine up when this thing's finished. I hate that place." And Tarkin and the Emperor are both like, "Okay, cool. Sounds good." And then it's like created and directed by George Lucas.
Right. Or like, let's not build this one, or what is it?
Maybe
That's in
we
the
should
first movie.
Family Guy did that.
Maybe we just
like-
shouldn't put this tiny little box where if you shoot into it, the whole
Can't
thing
we
will
put
explode.
like some plywood over the vents? Like, yeah, but that would look cheesy.
Roll credits.
We can't do that. We gotta think about resale value.
That's why I like
love
How It Should Have Ended on YouTube.
Yeah.
So much too, because they take those. It's not the same as CinemaSins. I mean, CinemaSins is just. I take umbrage with those people, but like How It Should Have Ended kind of pokes fun at plot holes, whether they're major or minor.
Yeah.
They have a good time.
Also,
with it.
and also kind of like honest trailers.
I do like honest
Yeah.
trailers.
I do
Yeah.
like honest trailers, but
Yeah.
anyway. That
So
does
my
it
idea
for-
is in no way original is what I just learned. That's fine. I accept.
right.
There's no original
Nothing's
ideas.
original anymore.
No.
Nah, never. So that does it for this week's episode. Thank you all so much for listening. And if you are here just because of Chad and Sara, thanks for being here. I hope you subscribe to the podcast. For those of you who don't know who It's Bourbon Night is, these guys are. Where can people find you all?
We are.
We are one.
We are. We am.
We is.
I think, therefore, I is.
We is on YouTube.
Yes.
At youtube.com/itsbourbonnight.
Yeah. As you mentioned, top of the show, Whiskey Ambitions.
Yes.
Right?
It's whiskeyambitions.com.
That's where you can get this is my bourbon drinking glass and our Glencairns and rocks glasses and t-shirts and hoodies and what's nuts.
And recipes.
And now blogs. That's right. Some bloggage.
Yes.
We got bloggage.
You can become a patron at patreon.com/itsbourbonnight. And we're on Instagram at itsbourbonnight. And those are really the main places we react. We
Interact.
Interact. That's the word I was looking for. I was like, brain malfunction.
Bourbon drinkers
we have a
react.
Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's another good series. I'm going to make all these notes in my journal. We have a Facebook. It's not our most regularly checked place.
Correct.
So, there you go.
Yeah.
Them are all the places.
Well, I am at PRitter1492 on all social media channels. You can follow the show itself at My Bourbon Pod on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. You can leave us a 5-star rating and review on whatever podcatcher app that you use, or the iTunes podcast app specifically is where I pull most of those from. We'll read it out here on the show. You can find all of our apparel and merchandise at bourbonshop.threadless.com, aside from our This Is My Bourbon Drinking Glass Glencairns, which are available again at whiskeyambitions.com. You can join our Facebook group, facebook.com, and just search for This Is My Bourbon Group. We ask our questions for our Patreon supporters over there. For the pregame chats, let's see, what else do we do here? I go live every Thursday night at 8 o'clock on youtube.com/This Is My Bourbon Podcast. I'm taking a couple weeks off, though, until the new year. So I guess every week with an asterisk.
Blackout dates apply.
Mostly.
Yeah, for the most part, if I'm not inundated with baby stuff,
Baby Yodas.
Yeah, but then its name's Grogu, okay?
I was about to say that, Perry. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was like, excuse me, he has a name and it's Grogu. So.
And he's adorable, okay? And you can become a patron of the show at patreon.com/MyBourbonPodcast for as little as $1 a month. And for as little as $5 a month, you get all the bonus content like the pregame chats. And coming up again at the beginning, Chad's smoking a pen. It's very distracting. You
not a real pen, not a
teen.
vape pen. It's just a regular pen.
It's a writing pen. Yes.
He likes to imagine.
You just smoke a cigar, dude.
No, I'm Katharine Hepburn right now. Or Audrey Hepburn, sorry. Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Okay. You are, aren't you? Oh, that's special. That's a video
It's
only
a Perry
joke.
exclusive.
Yeah. Audience of one. Two.
But we also have The Last Call, which is coming back after the first of the year, which is just a really good time. And it's where Swan and I kind of wrap up this week's content. And it's goofy, and we have a lot of fun with it. And yeah, again, patreon.com/MyBourbonPodcast. That does it for this week's episode. Chad and Sara, thank you all so much for joining me for only your second appearance in 2020. Second and
Our
last,
pleasure.
I guess.
Thanks for having
Yeah.
us.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
We'll do more of this in 2021, of
Yes.
course. But yeah, that's it. Thank you all so much for listening. I'll see you next week. But until then, I'm Perry, and this is My Bourbon Podcast.